You already know the Green Bay Packers are number one. What is up, everybody? Jason from Jason Sports Clips. Nah, I'm just playing. Get out of here with that fake bullcrap. Anyways, Jason from Jason Sports Clips, back with another video. If you are brand new to the channel, brand new to see me for the very first time, and if you love the NFL, please subscribe to this channel because I am all about NFL content, and as you can see, Green Bay Packer lover. Not just a regular fan, a lover. I dream about them every night. Nah, I'm just playing. That's not that weird. But anyways, brand new, love NFL. Please subscribe to this channel. You will not regret it. I promise you. You can look at all my not the freaking throws. Oof. You can look through any of my videos. I got multiple videos of the NFL power rankings, predictions, Packer reactions, anything like that. So, you know, this channel is not going to be like a little one-hit and wonder, you know what I mean? Anyways, today's video will be about the Week 4 power rankings. There is a couple of new teams compared from my last power ranking video. There are a couple of new teams on the top 10. And obviously you'll see that later in the video. If you have a disagreement, if you have a certain reaction, please drop a comment down below. I need engagement, and I will respond to every one of you guys if you reply. I promise you. I might even ask questions, anything like that. So anyways, you know, you can't really know if you don't comment, I guess. I don't know. Anyways, let's get right into the video. Starting off with the 3 honorable mention teams in the NFL. The number 13 team will be the San Francisco 49ers. They had a completely huge drop-off from my last week power rankings, but you know, they got every position player basically injured. Richard Sherman, D Ford, Nick Bosa, just anyone in the freaking team's injured. They did blow out the Giants, which is pretty embarrassing for a Giants fan. But yeah, San Francisco 49ers number 13. The New England Patriots are the number 12 team. Even though they beat the Las Vegas Raiders, they're still looking pretty good, but the teams ahead of them are just better. So the New England Patriots will crack the top 10, just not at the moment, even though they're doing great. And the number 11 team will be the Los Angeles Rams. Last week they were number 10. They lost against the Bills in a very close game. They put up a good fight, but you know, the teams ahead of them are just better. So those are the 3 teams right there. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers are my number 10 team. Last week they were not ranked at all in the top 10. They beat the Denver Broncos in week 3. They did a pretty good game. They won 28-10. Looking at the stats, Tom Brady 25-38, 297 yards and 3 touchdowns. Very good game. Ronald Jones was their leader rusher with 53 yards and 13 attempts. Their receiving, Scott Miller had 83 yards with 3 receptions. Chris Godwin actually came out of the game in the 3rd quarter. That is not good for the Bucs. He had 64 yards in the touchdown. OJ Howard had 49 yards. Gronkowski had 48, which is the most he's had in a game so far. And that's about it. Mike Evans only had 2 touchdowns, but guess what? 2 yards. What kind of stat is that? Now the defense is where they balled out. 2 interceptions. They got like 6 or 7 sacks. They completely balled out against the Denver Broncos. But then again, Denver Broncos like a very, very, very weak team this year. So yeah, number 10 right there. The number 9 team is the Tennessee Titans. Last week they were not ranked in my top 10. And they beat the Minnesota Vikings 31-30, which thank you God. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Looking at the stats, Ryan Tannehill 321 yards, no touchdowns and 1 interception. He had a lot of yards, but you know, no touchdown, which is not that good. Derrick Henry completely balled out, 26 attempts, 119 yards and 2 touchdowns. He's obviously their main part of their offense. And looking at the receiving yards, he had 3 receptions, 118 yards for Caleb Raymond. I've never heard of him ever. Corey Davis had 69 yards. Adam Humphries has 41 yards, and that's pretty much it with the receiving game. They did have a couple of fumbles in that game, so very close game, honestly. And then on the defensive side, they had a couple interceptions against the worst quarterback in the league, Kirk Cousins. Alright, I'm joking. But anyway, he is pretty bad. But anyways, and their defense, they had 2 sacks. But the main point of their team yesterday was Steven Kwiatkowski, 6 for 6 field goals. 55. The 55-yard was his longest. Pretty good game for the Tennessee Titans. Now we're going on to number 8. The Arizona Cardinals are my number 8 team. Last week, they dropped down one spot, so they're number 7. Looking at the stats, oh, by the way, they lost against the Detroit Lions, 26-23, which I don't know how they lost against the Lions, but anyways. Looking at the stats, Kyler Murray had 270 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 3 interceptions, which is not that good against the Detroit Lions. They don't have really that good of a defense. Kenyon Drake was their leading rusher with 73 yards and 18 attempts, but no touchdowns. Kyler Murray also had a rushing touchdown. Their leading receiver was DeAndre Hopkins with 137 yards, but he had no touchdowns. But Andy Isabella had 2 touchdowns at 47 yards. So their offense did not that bad, except for the 3 turnovers for Kyler Murray, which no bueno. Looking at their defense, they had no interceptions against Matthew Stafford, and they had 4 sacks against him. So pretty good. Disappointing loss for the Arizona Cardinals. They lost against the Detroit Lions, which is very, very weird. I did not expect that at all. But, you know, it happens. So, let's go on to number 17. The Buffalo Bills are my number 7 team. Last week, they were number 10, so they had a huge jump. Looking at their stats, I keep forgetting. The Buffalo Bills beat the Los Angeles Rams 35-32. They almost blew the game, by the way. Almost, but they ended up sealing it. Josh Allen had 311 yards, 4 touchdowns, and an interception. Not that bad of a game. Their rushing their leading rusher was Devin Singletary with 71 yards, no touchdowns, and 13 attempts. Their receiving, Cole Beasley had the most yards with 6 receptions and 100 yards. Stephon Diggs had a touchdown and 49 yards. Gabriel Davis had 81 yards. So, pretty good game on the offensive side for the Rams. I mean, not the Rams. Wow. The Bills. Absolutely terrible, Jason. Anyways, I'm not going to cut it out. Very good game for the Bills against a very tough Rams defense. Josh Allen did have a lost fumble. Looking at their defensive side, Levi Wallace had an interception, and their sacks, they had 2 sacks. So, very good win for the Buffalo Bills. And they're 3-0. Very good start to the season. And yeah, it's looking very, very good. Now on to number 16. The Pittsburgh Steelers are my number 6 team. Last week they're number 8, so they jumped up 2 spots, and they beat the Houston Texans 28-21. Looking at their stats on the offensive side, Ben Roethlisberger had 2 touchdowns, 237 yards. James Conner had 109 rushing yards with the touchdown with 18 attempts. Pretty good game for him. Eric Ebron was their leading receiver with 52 yards and 5 receptions and a touchdown. Juju had about 43 yards and a touchdown as well. And that's just about it. James Conner had 40 receptions. Chase Claypool had a fumble loss. And on the defensive side, Mike Hilton had an interception. And their defense had a total of 4 sacks. So, pretty dominant game against the Texans. It came a little bit down to the wire again, just like the other team. The only reason why they're behind this one team, which you'll hear in a second, is just because they just haven't proved me yet. They beat the Broncos, the Texans, and the Giants, as you can see on the screen. All the combined teams, they had 1 win. They're like 1-9 or whatever it is, 1-8. So they haven't proved me just yet to be ahead of the next team. The New Orleans Saints are my number 5 team. Last week they're number 4. And I know they're 1-2. They could be behind the Steelers, like I said, but Steelers are actually playing, not the Steelers, the Saints are actually playing really good teams, really good games. They're not getting blown out. Even though Drew Brees is definitely struggling this year, their team's still really good. So for now, they're at number 5. They could drop down a lot, depending on next week's game. So Drew Brees threw 288 yards, 3 touchdowns, basically all to Alvin Kamara. And speaking of Alvin Kamara, he had 58 rushing yards with 6 attempts. Latavius Murray had 58 yards on the rushing game. And Alvin Kamara was by far their best receiver with 139 yards and 2 touchdowns. Their defense, they had, 1 sack. Oof. Against the Green Bay Packers. Let's go. But like I said, the Saints are 1-2, as you see on the screen. They're not getting blown out. They're having good games. It's just, I don't know. I still feel good about that team. Even though Drew Brees is definitely not in his prime anymore. Like, you can see my Packer and Saints reaction video. I don't know. I just have a gut feeling that they're number 5. And now on to number 4 team. The Seattle Seahawks are my number 4 team. Last week they're number 5, so they jumped up just one spot. They beat the Dallas Cowboys 38-31 in a very good game against the Cowboys. Very good game. Russell Wilson is an absolute god this year. 315 yards, 5 touchdowns. He has like 14 touchdowns this year so far in 3 games. Like, what the crap, man? Jesus. Chris Carson had 64 yards and 14 attempts, which I believe he is injured for a couple weeks, so that is no bueno. Again, I know I keep saying that a lot, but anyways, he's out for a couple weeks. The receiving DK Metcalf had a very good game, 110 yards and a touchdown. Tyler Lockett had 3 touchdowns and 100 yards. This Seattle team, their offense is completely unstoppable with Russell Wilson, DK Metcalf. They're completely blowing up. But what really makes me curious, really is their defense. They did have 2 interceptions against Dak Prescott. And let's see, 2 sacks. But they do give up a lot of points. So Seattle defense definitely needs to add a piece during the trade deadline because their corners and secondaries is eh. I know they added Jamal Adams, but still, they're not that good. But yeah, Seattle 3-0. On to number 3 team. The Baltimore Ravens are my number 3 team. Last week, they were number 1. They dropped down 2 spots. And last night, they lost against the Kansas City Chiefs 34-20. Lamar Jackson and that offense, they just look stagnant. I mean, obviously, Lamar Jackson ran the ball a lot. He had 83 rushes, or 83 rushing yards and 9 attempts. On a passing game, 97 yards and a touchdown on 15 attempts. That's not good at all for Lamar Jackson. That's really bad. I don't care what you say. Their offense is just, like I said, stagnant. They just could not get anything going. And obviously, with 97 passing yards, their receiving did pretty bad. J.K. Dobbins had 38 yards receiving, 4 receptions. I watched the game for a little bit. I didn't watch the whole game. I don't know. They did not look motivated at all. On the defensive side, they had no interceptions and no sacks. They just could not stop the Kansas City Chiefs, which the Chiefs, they looked all kinds of sort of. It was actually really good, but very interesting. We'll talk about that later in the video. But the Baltimore Ravens are 2-1. They're number 3 in my power rankings. Nothing to be worried about. Remember, the Chiefs are a very good team. And yeah, I would not be worried if I was a Ravens fans. But on to the number 2 team. The Green Bay Packers are the number 2 team. Let's go. Am I a little biased? Maybe. They're definitely top 5, though. You cannot disagree with that. Anyways, the Packers beat the New Orleans Saints 37-30. They're 3 on a year. Their offense is on freaking fire, scoring 35-plus points in 3 straight games with 0 turnovers. You got to remember that. That's like an NFL record or something like that. But anyways, Aaron Rodgers had 21 completed passes in 32 attempts, 283 yards, and 3 touchdowns, all without Devontae Adams. Aaron Jones had 16 attempts, 69 yards, and a touchdown, so he did okay. They're receiving Allen Lazard completely balled out, like I say all the time. 146 yards and a touchdown. Then pretty much their tight ends did everything else. Robert Tonyan had 50 yards. Sternberger had 36, and Mercedes Lewis had a touchdown with 18 yards. But the Packers' offense looked very, very good against a tough Saints defense. Yeah, I felt really, really, really good about that game. Their defensive side, they had no interceptions. They had 2 sacks by Kingsley Keke. Darius Smith had a forced fumble and recovery. So, very good game for the Packers. Defense, I mean, if you watch the game, there's a lot of missed tackles, and there's this one play by Alvin Kamara. Oh my God. We need to improve our tackling. But anyways, the Green Bay Packers are number 2. And I'm pretty sure you already knew the Kansas City Chiefs are my number 1 team. Last week, they were number 2, so they went up 1 spot. The Chiefs' offense, they had all kinds of crazy plays. They were doing all kinds of switches, reverses, all kinds of stuff. But anyways, Patrick Mahomes had a very good game against a very, very, very good defense. Remember this. 385 yards, 4 touchdowns, 31 for 42 in the passing game. Clyde Edwards had 64 yards and 20 attempts, which is okay. But, he actually did a lot in the passing game. 70 yards. Travis Kelce had 87 yards. Mecole Hardman had 81 yards and a touchdown. Tyreek Hill had a touchdown with 77 yards. The Chiefs offense, they looked very, very dominant. They just completely blew out the Ravens low-key. This game was over in halftime if you watched it. Looking at the defensive side, they had 4 sacks against an okay offensive lineman. But yeah, Chiefs are 3-0, as you can see on the screen. Just a very good win for the Chiefs, and they look like they're staying at number 1 for a while. Anyways, this is the end of the Week 4